Welcome, friends. We are in A Course in Miracles, in the text, Chapter 6, The Lessons of Love. We're reading the introduction. This is on page 91 of the text. The relationship of anger to attack is obvious, but the relationship of anger to fear is not always so apparent. Anger always involves projection of separation, which must ultimately be accepted as one's own responsibility rather than being blamed on others. Anger cannot occur unless you believe that you have been attacked, that your attack is justified in return, and that you are in no way responsible for it. Giving these three wholly irrational premises the equally irrational conclusion that a brother is worthy of attack rather than of love must follow. What can be expected from insane premises except an insane conclusion? The way to undo an insane conclusion is to consider the sanity of the premise on which it rests. You cannot be attacked. Attack has no justification, and you are responsible for what you believe. Are there any questions or comments? Well, let's go over it again. The relationship of anger to attack is obvious. Well, it's obvious to someone who understands the interplay of the ego and of Holy Spirit in people's minds. But the relationship of anger to fear is not always so apparent. So anger, just think about getting angry, and fear, getting afraid. Well, that relationship is not so apparent. We may become afraid, but that we don't necessarily feel anger. We may get angry, but we not necessarily feel afraid. Whereas it says the relationship of anger and attack is obvious. Well, that is obvious even to an ego mind, because if you're angry, you want to attack. I'm angry at you. Just saying that is attacking somebody. So that's actually what they mean. The relationship of anger to attack is obvious. If you're angry, most probably you're going to want to attack. Hopefully you don't, but you're going to want to. That's the way you're going to feel. But when you are angry, you're not necessarily thinking in terms of fear. But then it says, sentence 2, anger always involves projection of separation. And it's that separation, that's where the fear comes in, which must ultimately be accepted as one's own responsibility. Because if we are feeling separated, we are having that thought. That thought is originating with us, not with God. God never thinks in terms of separation. Spirit does not think in terms of separation. So that's our responsibility. And we must accept that responsibility rather than placing blame on others, which is what, of course, we always want to do. We get angry and we get mad and we feel attacked and we want to attack, and it's always somebody else's fault. You made me do it. You made me feel angry. You did this. You did that. You're not taking responsibility. I say you, but in general, us, we don't normally take responsibility for these feelings and realize that, hey, you know what? We're projecting these feelings. And so we want to blame other people or other situations. And then sentence 3 says, anger cannot occur unless you believe that you have been attacked. So you have to believe that you've been attacked in the first place in order for you to get angry. If you don't believe you've been attacked, you wouldn't get angry. Anger is the response to the belief that you're being attacked. And that your attack is justified in return. So you feel, well, I was attacked, so my anger response is justified because I'm just giving like to like. You attack me, I'll attack you. And that you are in no way responsible for it. I didn't start the fight. He started the fight. She started the fight. It wasn't me. And people don't want to take responsibility for all of the anger and attack. And then sentence 4 says, given these 3 wholly irrational premises. So what are the 3 irrational premises? Well, anger, attack, and responsibility. The irrational premises of feeling anger, of feeling attack, and of not taking responsibility, but they are irrational to the spiritual mind. They're very rational to the ego mind. And the irrational conclusion that a brother is worthy of attack rather than of love must follow. That's how the ego thinks. But spirit doesn't think that way. Spirit thinks that our brother is always worthy of love. So what can be expected from insane premise except insane conclusion? So the whole thing is all ego insanity working in our mind. And we're just playing that out in the ego world. The way to undo this insane conclusion is to consider the sanity of the premises on which it rests. So, the premise that you can be attacked. Well, your ego self feels attacked, but your spiritual self can never be attacked. That attack has no justification. Well, you cannot be attacked. Attack has, yes, there's no justification for attacking. Attacking is strictly ego. Spirit wants to love. Spirit would never attack. So spirit cannot be attacked. Spirit will not attack. And the premise of being responsible, and you are responsible for what you believe. If you believe that you're justified in attacking somebody because they hurt you, and that's what you believe, you are the one who's responsible for that belief. Spirit doesn't believe that. Spirit believes that there's never any reason, there's never any justification for attacking because it cannot be attacked. So there's no justification for attacking back. Nobody can ever do harm to you, to your spiritual self. So the whole fear and attack and anger and all of the retribution, all of that's just playing out in ego. And in the spirit world, that none of that exists. It just isn't. So the lesson here is that we need to align ourselves, our conscious selves, with our spiritual selves. And when we're in an ego situation where we feel attacked, we need to check ourselves and not respond with anger, but respond with love instead, because we must realize that no matter what's happening in ego, it's not real. My spiritual self cannot be attacked and would not ever respond with anger or fear. So we need to take responsibility for what we believe. And you have free will to believe either way. You can continue to believe with ego thoughts, or you can choose to believe with Holy Spirit. Now, are there any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
It's unique that anger cannot occur unless you believe that you've been attacked. Well, sometimes I guess it could be obvious that you're being attacked. And you don't not, I understand that you're not supposed to respond to it, but how do you not believe that you've been attacked when you've been attacked?
Yeah. Well, I think the example here is Jesus at the crucifixion. They're nailing him to the cross, and he's quoted as saying, "Father, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing." He was attacked, he was scourged and crown of thorns and nailed to the cross and all of that. And he did not get angry. He did not fight back. He just went with it, because in his mind he knew that his body was just a manifestation of the ego. It didn't really exist. That those people could attack him, but he was a spiritual being, and even though they thought they were killing him, he knew that he could not die, that he was an eternal spiritual being. And so he paid it no mind. He said, "Don't forgive them. They just don't know what they're doing."
After they drive nails in his hand and it doesn't hurt, in his hands and it doesn't hurt, and it's just a spear into his side.
Actually, A Course in Miracles states that when you're in that spiritual state of mind, that you feel no pain, that you're completely disassociated with the pain of the physical. And yes, it states that Jesus felt no pain whatsoever because he was not, basically, he wasn't in his body. He knew he wasn't his body.
Not real easy, is it?
Well, nobody said it was going to be easy yet.
Well, I guess when I'm able to levitate, I probably won't be subject to pain anymore. Okay.
John,
Yes, David.
I had two poems I pulled out yesterday. I think that for this session, because this one's called Transformation. Can I read the two poems?
Okay.
Transformation from birth to death and beyond, changing in every moment. Death is not the end, a new beginning, to be conscious, letting go of fear, feeling the love of the universe. We are one. Now, the other one was from nowhere to now here. With unconsciousness, we are nowhere. Disconnected, not unified, without spirit. When conscious, we are now here. Connected, unified in spirit. Witnessing with love and compassion, we are one.
Thank you, David. All righty then. So let's go on to the second paragraph. You have been asked to take me, that's Jesus, as your model for learning, since an extreme example is a particularly helpful learning device. Everyone teaches and teaches all the time. This is a responsibility you inevitably assume the moment you accept any premise at all, and no one can organize his life without some thought system. Once you have developed the thought system of any kind, you live by it and teach it. Your capacity for allegiance to a thought system may be misplaced, but it is still a form of faith and can be redirected. So we're being told to look to Jesus to be our model, realizing that it is an extreme example, just like, what I was just saying about him being crucified and not feeling any pain. But they're saying that's a particularly helpful learning advice because sometimes it just doesn't click unless we, look at an extreme. Sometimes the subtle lessons aren't always realized. And then the sentence, everyone teaches and teaches all the time. Well, we've heard that many times before in the past 5 chapters, that we are all teachers and we are all students and we are all teaching and we are all learning, and that this is happening all of the time, whether we realize it or not, whether we're conscious of it or not. And the reason for them to keep reinforcing this thought is because we do need to become conscious of the fact. We really do. We really need to become conscious of the fact that, yes, we are teaching all of the time and we are learning all of the time. And when we're in that realization, then life is much more effective, so to speak. You're not going around in a haze wondering what you're doing there. You're actively participating in life because you know that you're always teaching and you're always learning. And it says this is a responsibility. It is our responsibility to be teachers and students all of the time. This is a responsibility you inevitably assume the moment you accept any premise at all. So whether you accept the ego's premise or the spirit's premise, you're in the same boat. If you're accepting the ego's presence, then you're going to be teaching and learning, all of the ego stuff, the hate and the jealousy and the fear and the anger and all of that. But if you accept the spirit's premise, then you're going to be responsible for teaching and learning love and wisdom and joy and compassion and forgiveness. So no matter what way you go, you're going to be responsible for that. But you have the free will choice to choose. And no one, it says, can organize his life without some thought system. You have to have some thought system or you just be a vegetable. Once you have developed a thought system of any kind, you live by it and you teach it. They're just restating what they just stated. Your capacity for allegiance to a thought system may be misplaced. So if your allegiance to the ego thought system, well, that's a misplaced allegiance because the ego is not real. The ego is a dream. The ego is an illusion. The ego is not of God. But if you do that, that's still a form of faith. You can have faith in the ego world, and it can be redirected. And that's our goal here. That's our object, to redirect our allegiance from the ego thought system that we've grown up with and believed in since we were born in this incarnation on this world. And we're trying our best to redirect it into the spiritual thought system. And that's what our goal is, our aim. Any questions? Any comments? You're muted, David.
Well, for me, I know this works for me. It's taken a few years. It's nothing that came easily, but once I became conscious that it works, I have an appetite for it. before I felt that I have to just have faith and work the system until something happens. And it's kind of a blind faith. And the whole course is a good thing, and it's about love, and I have to go through do the work to get to that point where I can be in spirit more than I was before. I can't say I'm totally in spirit all the time. I'm an ego and I'm in spirit, and I'm a combination, but it's something good, and it's something the world needs. It's something that I need. Right? And I believe in persisting. If you know, because I'm soul, that this is something that I need, that other people need, and I'm an example of what could be good in my life, you know, and in other people's lives.
Thank you. Anything from you, Ed?
I'm muted, I'm sorry. No, I'm fine, thank you.
All righty then. Okay, so we're going to end there for this evening. Tomorrow we'll pick up, next time we'll pick up on section 1, the meaning of the crucifixion. So unless you have any other last comments, David?
I think it's coming through. I'm okay.
Okay, that's good. All righty then, let's have a moment of silence then.